Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today we're taking a look at the Storm Knight. This is a Sorc tank build made for pretty much any activity, in-game, dungeons, that kind of thing, like more of the in-game kind of structure. And it is set to be more to the popular playstyle. And I actually like it. I actually had a lot of fun playing this build. I actually tested this build quite a bit when I was testing, so it's one of the ones that I tested the most because I enjoyed it so much. I do want to give a shout out to Killer Mac for the influence of this build. This is based solely on his idea of the Tesla tank. If you guys want to check out that build, check the link in the description below. You guys can find the old version of it from his stuff over at his webpage, or at his channel. So let's go ahead and get into this build, though. So we are an Argonian Sorcerer. Argonian for this build is actually 100% the best. You can't get anything better for this particular build because of how well it is resource-wise, how it plays, everything. It just plays so well with this build. As you can see, though, we have 2 into Magicka, 44 into health, 18 into stamina. We do have a 20k Magicka with a 40k health and a 20k stamina. But if you notice, our stamina is just slightly higher than our Magicka. That's a good thing. Our spell resistance is 23k and 22k on the front bar. On the back bar, we do drop to 19,780 and 19,417. But do not worry or stress too much because you're not going to be on the back bar too often. Moving on down the line, we are using the Lady Mundus Stone. We do have Ebon Armory and Minor Heroism from Shulks. We do have Tri-Stat food, and we are a stage 1 vampire. Vampire for this build is really good, but this build is highly advised not to be used in the Bloodroot Forge dungeon. Okay, we tried to complete the dungeon on Vet mode with this build, and it just didn't quite pull what it needed to. It worked great, but you take so much fire damage in there from one of the enemies. It's really hard to mitigate that, even just from being a vampire. It's harder. It's not super hard. It's harder. All right, moving on to the gear. So as I said, we are using Tri-Stat food. As you can see, this gives us 4k health, magic, and stamina. So that's really good for this type of a build. And then moving on up here, we're using Tri-Stat potions. The live versions, the healthy pots or whatever they're called, do give health, magic, and stamina at a greater amount. And on Argonians, it's crazy. Moving on to the monster set, we are using Stormfist. Now, a lot of people are going to ask why I'm using Stormfist. The main reason why I'm using Stormfist is because of the shock damage for 3 seconds. That can also apply the Concussed, which can help you set enemies off balance, and it's really good. Now, the stamina recovery is kind of garbage with this, but it's okay. We're not really worried about that. We're more concerned about what the monster set can do for us. So, moving on to the 5-piece, we are running Ebon Armory set, which gives us max health on the 2-piece, 3-piece max health, 4-piece gives us healing taken, which is great on the Argonian, and then 5-piece increase your health by 1,118 for you and 11 other members within 28 meters of you. It's a good set to have for group play. It gives a little bit of group support. It's kind of fun. And then moving on to the other set, we are using Shulks. And as you guys can see, the 2-piece gives us max health, spell damage, and spell critical. That spell critical is very, very good because it helps us proc our critical surge, or power surge is what we use, that boosts our capabilities of staying alive. We are using 2 shield play enchants here with infused with a potion cooldown, which on this build is awesome, because it drops the potion cooldown to 37 seconds, and it allows you to pop potions every 37 seconds, which makes resource management a lot easier. Moving on to the sword and shield, we are using a sturdy shield Shulks with an infused sword with Crusher, and then a lightning staff with Crusher. The reason we're using a lightning staff is to help apply the off balance. So to get concussed and then apply off balance. It's not going to happen too often, but it does help. Alright, so on the gear, you guys can see we are using an infused helm, infused legs, with a reinforced chest, all tri-stats, and on the shield we also have a tri-stat. The smaller pieces we are running sturdy and healthy enchants, so sturdy gear with healthy enchants, definitely want that. And then that is that. We're going to move on to skills. Make sure on the skills you unlock all your class passives. It is super important to get all your class passives here. On the weapons, sword and shield passives, you want them all. Destruction style passives, you want them all. Yes, you do. Because you really want all these passives. They help out so much. With the armor, light armor, you want the top 3 passives. The main reason why you want the top 3 passives for this is because on the Daedric magic, you have Unholy Knowledge, which gives you reduced magic and stamina cost, which is 5%. And then with the light armor passive evocation, you get a 2%. So it's a 7% reduced cost in your magic abilities, which does play well with this build, along with the stamina abilities, 7% from medium. Make sure you get all your heavy armor passives. On the world skills, on the vampire, the one thing you really want is Undeath, and that's because if you drop below 50% health, you get 33% damage reduction, which is kind of nice. Moving on over here, Fighters Guild, we do have Intimidating Presence and Banish the Wicked. Mages Guild, we have Persuasive Will. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you want to use Balance instead of this, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Like, if you want to use, not Balance, but Spell Symmetry, it's really not worth it. This is so much better, and we'll get to that right now. The reason why Deep Thoughts is such a better ability is because, see, as you can see, it gives us 1,806 health back. It also gives us 1,914 magic and stamina back every second while it's active. And you can have this going as much as you want. And when you have your lightning form going and you have your power surge going and you activate this, like, nothing's going to kill you. Like, your health is just going to just pour in. So with these, we want Concentrated Barrier and Deliberation. Concentrated Barrier, for having Deep Thoughts on the front part, we do get a 5,800 point damage shield. And then with Deliberation, we do get 30% damage reduction when we have this active. Very, very powerful. Next up, we do have the Inner Rage ability. You can use this if you want while you're in a trial, but I highly advise, or say you really don't, because this build is just crazy the way it works. Moving on, Undaunted, we have Undaunted Command, and we have Undaunted Metal. If you guys look at Undaunted Command, like, we get a 821 stamina and 807 magic back when we synergize, and if we synergize off of orbs, we're going to get, like, 4k, just over 4k stamina back, which is kind of nice. And if it's a Spear Shard, and it's the Spear Shard ability from the Templar that gives magic as stamina, that means you're going to get a lot of magic and a chunk of a lot of stamina and a chunk of magic back, which is also really good. Get Undaunted Metal, and then over here in Alliance War, we do have Aggressive Warhorn, which is, of course, essential, and then Argonian passives. Make sure you get them all. Alchemy, make sure you get medicinal use, and then with provisioning, you want to get Gourmand and Carnosaur. Now let's go over the skills on the bar. On the main bar, we are using Pierce Armor. This is our Major Breach, Major Fracture application. It also is our taunt, and our only taunt we're using right now with the way this is set up. If you want to use Inner Rage, I'll show you how you can set that up when we get there. Next up, we do have Deep Slash. We do not need a Heroic Slash. We do have Major or Minor Heroism all the time because we are using Shulks. Next, we have Hardened Ward. This does allow you to apply Minor Maim to 3 targets, though. And then next we have Hardened Ward. Hardened Ward's really good because it's a 9k shield. And then on top of that, you get 23% more. When you activate Hardened Ward, just so you guys can see, it's like 10k. And then when you block, that's a 16,000 point shield together. So you can keep this up pretty easily. And you'll stay alive for a while. Hardened Ward's just amazing. Next up, we have Deep Thoughts, like I said, showed, and 1,806 health, 1,914 magic and stamina over 1 second. I already explained it. Next, we have Bound Aegis. Now, I chose this build to have Bound Aegis because while slotted, you get Max Magicka, increasing your Max Magicka by 8%, but you also get Minor Ward and Minor Resolve, which increase your spell and physical resistance by 1,225, I think it is, or 45, something like that. So it gives you extra resistances, which is really good for this particular build. Next, we have Aggressive Warhorn. Now, this also grants you a block thing that when you block, it gives you 20% more block mitigation, which stacks with your already 20% on the sword and shield. This is a 40% block capability. This makes them equal, if not better, than DKs almost. But you have to activate this, and it takes Magicka, and it only lasts 3 seconds. So don't use it too much. Only use it when you really need it. Next, we have Aggressive Warhorn. Max health, max Magicka by 10%, max and stamina by 10% for you and your group for 30 seconds. It also grants Major Force, increasing critical damage by 15%. This is awesome for your Power Surge ability, which we'll get to. Moving to the back bar, we do have Lightning Flood. Now, you guys are probably wondering, why are you using Lightning Flood? Well, this is that ability I was talking about that you can change out for the ranged taunt in a rage if you want. But the main reason why we have this ability is to apply the Concussed. Because if this applies Concussed, that means our Wall of Elements can set them off balance. So that's the main reason why we have it. The next ability we have is Blockade of Storms, or Wall of Elements, and this will does shock damage, but it also sets 1 second and setting concussed enemies off balance for 5 seconds. So this is your way of applying that, taking that concussed from your monster set and your Lightning Flood and making the enemies off balance. So it's really good in combination. The next ability we have is Power Surge. Now, Power Surge does give us increased weapon and spell damage, but it's the bottom thing that we're looking at. While active, dealing critical strikes heals you for 3,034 health. This effect can occur every 1 second. And if you look at our crit chance is 25%. So it's not too bad, and it's going to proc a lot. The next ability we have on our bar is Boundless Storm. Now, if you look what this one does 529 shock damage every 1 second for 23 seconds. But it also gives us Major Resolve and Major Ward, increasing our physical and spell resistance. Activating this grants Major Expedition, which gives you really fast ability to move around, which is also really good. But the main reason why we have this is because, one, shock damage, concussed. Now, the abilities, these abilities here and your monster set have a really low chance of applying concussed, but it's going to happen more than you think. Along with this, which also can apply concussed and off balance, you have a lot of ways of applying that off balance to your enemies, which is really, really good. And then moving on to the final ability, of course, on the bar, before we get to our last ultimate, is Bound Aegis again. Then we have our final ultimate, which is Absorb Magic. Absorb Magic is a very, very powerful ability. This one allows you to create a globe of magic suppression, instantly removing all area of effect. Abilities, enemies within the globe are stunned for 12 seconds. Enemy players will be silenced rather than stunned. So this will silence enemy players, but enemies themselves, they get this negative effect. This also heals allies. So for 12 seconds, this thing will tick 24 times 1,018 health on your allies. So, and you got to remember, you're an Argonian, so you get 5% healing done. Very, very crazy. So now that we've seen the skills, let's go ahead and take a look at the champion points. Moving on to the red tree. 56 in Ironclad, reducing damage taken by direct damage attacks by 20%. Moving into the middle tree, 56 in the Hardy and Elemental Defender, both giving us a 12% damage reduction. 23 into Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 10%. All of this stuff does stack together, guys. Moving over here, we have 40 into Bastion, increasing our damage shields by 16%, and then 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 5%. With being an Argonian, we have 5% healing received. This gives us another 5%, which is a 10%. Plus wearing a 5-piece set of heavy armor, we get another 8%. So we get a lot of healing received, which helps with that critical surge. Moving on over here, we have 56 in a Warlord, reducing break-free costs by 20%. We have 23 into Bashing Focus, reducing our bash cost by 14%. This does play off the shield play enchants, by the way. And 3 into Sprinter, giving us 2% sprint reduction. We have 43 into Tenacity to give us both Magicka and Stamina back from our heavy attacks. The Lightning Staff is going to be used for that. because you are going to run out of resources on that back bar quite a bit, so you're going to use the heavy attacks from the staff to get those resources back. But you want to make sure when you do that, have Hardened Ward up. Moving on, we have 44 into Tumbling, reducing our dodge roll cost by 17%, and then we have 81 into Shadow Ward. Now, the nice thing about using the Sorc is when you pop that one ability that allows you to block 20% more damage, you can use the staff, the lightning staff, and it works just like Sword and Board. So, really nice. But it only lasts 3 seconds, so it kind of sucks. Moving on over here, we have 76 in a Bless, increasing our healing done by 14%. Now remember, we're an Argonian. We get 5% healing done. That's at 19% healing done to our allies. We also have 81 into Elfborn, increasing our critical heals by 24%. So it's a 74% increase in our critical heals. Moving on down to Elemental Expert, we have 56 in here to increase our shock damage by 12%. We also get another 5% on top of that. This is a 17% increase in all shock damage, which plays really well with this. We also have, excuse me, 37 into Master at Arms, giving us a 15% or 15% in direct damage, but mainly we have it for Reposit, and that's to increase our damage, or to give us a thing to increase, to have a chance of doing damage back to the enemies whenever we block. So, blah. And we have nothing in this tree. And that is pretty much the build itself. I'm going to go ahead and take this build over to the Maw and show you guys it in action. Now remember, I'm only showing you this on normal, so I'm not going in there on veteran mode. I'm just going in there on normal mode just to show you guys how the build works, and so you can see for yourself how it mitigates damage and how well it can stay alive. This is not a true testament of how well this build works. I mean, you really have to play this build to see how well it works. This is by far one of the most powerful tanks I've ever played in the game. When it comes to overall damage and just playing, all that kind of stuff, this thing just is a monster. And it has like the perfect amount of stats to make it work good. So alright, going in here. Let's go ahead and get our little enemies out. We're gonna go ahead and buff up. We're gonna drop this, and then we're just gonna go into block, guys. Watch this. I'm just gonna stand here and block. And you guys can watch on the side. See how often Power Surge hits? And if I have all my stuff out, like all my abilities out, this thing just keeps going. And even with the shield, the staff up, like I get a lot of stuff, so. And the crazy thing is you almost don't even need to use Sword and Board, because this thing just keeps you, like I said, boundless storms, this and this just will keep you alive so well. And in dungeons, it's really good. So. The nice thing also is when you use the Crusher enchant on the lightning staff, it keeps it up and it keeps it applied for you. So you can just walk around like this, and even after it wears off, it'll pop right back up, because guess what? The wall of elements is still there. And look how much you get back. 4,000. You're getting a lot. You get a lot of resources back on your heavy attacks from this, magic-wise. So. Like 5k back. So, like I said, it's a really powerful build, very powerful tank, and I've never seen a tank this powerful before. So, it's really, really fun to play. It's a really cool build. It works really well, and like I said, by far the most powerful tank I've played in the game. When it comes to overall, like, how it works, dynamic-wise, everything. And it's one of the more funner builds I've played. So... but yeah, that's it. That is the Storm Knight, guys. Again, check the link in the description. Go check out the original build, the Tesla tank, over on Killer Mac's webpage. If you guys like this video, you guys can hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in-game. Bye.